Welcome back to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, we have a very special guest, Minnesota State sophomore Kelsey King. Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on, and how's it going?
Thank you for having me, and it's going pretty good.
Thank you so much for coming on. And my first question to you is, how has your quarantine been, and what have you been doing these past few months to stay busy?
Well, it's definitely been different. I don't think any of us expected to have quarantine for this long, but training has been a big thing. I think this is the best time to get that edge and to continue training when maybe a lot of other people are having a tough time getting to facilities or things like that. But thankfully, I've been blessed to be able to have a place to continue to train. I'm back with the Mavericks now. We're just doing practices and lifts pretty regularly. So
That's good to hear. And my question to you is, have you gotten back on the ice with your teammates? And if so, what does your team look like so far early in the year? And how does the freshman class look like they're acclimating to the team?
yeah, so we have been skating for 2 months now, I think, approximately. But it's been great. I don't think there's anything better than being able to finally practice with your team as a whole. And we've had coaches out there too a little bit, which is nice to gain some structure. And our freshmen are looking great. I'm very excited about the season. Hopefully we have one. I don't know when the dates are going to be finalized on that, but looking forward to it immensely. We have some very talented freshmen.
Well, that's good to hear. And hopefully some of our Maverick fans are getting excited to hear that. Now, my question to you is, what are your goals and expectations for yourself and for your team for this upcoming season?
I'll start with our team goals. I think definitely we've been working on our culture, chemistry within our team, kind of championing each other. So I think that our goals would be to make a bigger impact this year. I know last year we improved from the following years, but this year we just worked to improve one more notch. And like I said, depending on how things turn out with how many games we'll have and things, we're just ready to play. We're excited. We're hungry and can't wait to get back after it. And then for individual, I would say this year I'd really like to help lead the team. I think both on and off the ice. I know off the ice so far it's been great getting to know the freshmen like you'd asked about. They're great, and just continuing to build those bonds with your teammates. I think that's one thing that is very valuable, and it's nice to get the chance to be able to have that playing college hockey. And then on the ice too, just leading by example, keeping the energy high at practices, staying positive right now for sure is the biggest thing because, again, we don't know what's going on with our season. So it's important that we make sure we motivate each other each and every day so we are prepared if we do have a season when it comes.
Have you heard from the WCHA when the season might start or what the season might look like?
No, we have not. We kind of have an idea that we're going to have one. I think they said maybe November, maybe. I know there's been talk about late November. There's been talk about January 1st. I think it's all kind of up in the air. I think a lot of schools, too, have to talk to the coaches and talk to their players, and it's kind of going to come down to what people are comfortable with, and testing is a huge thing. People would have to get tested 72 hours, I think it is, prior to competition. And we know that testing can be a lot of money, so I think that that's one thing, too, that it's important that we kind of try and figure that out before we jump into it.
No, I saw some tweet that said that the WCHA will potentially be starting in early January, like around New Year's Day, and that they'll be playing non-conference games before that. I don't know if that's just for the men's side or for the women's side. Is that similar?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know there's talk of January 1st, and then there would be talk of, yes, in-conference games only. But that's just like hearsay. I don't think they've finalized that, at least for the women's side yet.
Now, do you think a late start to your year will benefit you in some way, that you guys can understand some systems and acclimate the newer players on the team? And do you think it'll have some benefit in some weird way?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could. Like I said, this quarantine's been crazy, and it's really given a lot of players the chance to kind of get that edge on other players. Depending on your training, you have more time to put some work in. You're not sure when the season's going to start. So, like I said, you have some lenience on what you can be doing. But yeah, I think in a way it could. It's just going to depend on staying motivated, staying as connected, bonding. Like I said, that's also been a great thing. We're used to having games on the weekend, but now that we don't have games on the weekend, just like doing team things, hanging out as a team, having movie nights, things like that. It's really good for the freshmen to not sit in the dorms all day, because if you're ever a freshman, you understand that that's really tough. It's not very fun at the dorms, so it's nice when we can get them and get the whole team together hanging out.
Now, I want to start off talking about before you went to Minnesota State. You're from Elk River, Minnesota. How did you start playing hockey, and when did you start falling in love with the sport?
Yeah, so I actually started a little bit late. I started in third grade, so I was like 9 years old when I started playing. And I kind of just, my dad is a big hockey fan. He didn't play in he played a little bit in high school, but not very seriously. And we kind of just watch hockey all the time as a family. I'd pick out my favorite players. I loved Alex Ovechkin. I wanted to be him someday. And then from there, they're like, "Do you want to try hockey?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll try hockey." And next thing I knew, I was like, "Okay, this is fun. I want to keep playing. I want to get more serious." And then, yeah, just like decided to kind of commit to it. I played some other sports too, but hockey was the one that was my passion, and I already started setting some high expectations for myself, so that kind of became the focus, was hockey.
Now, you said Alex Ovechkin was your favorite player growing up, but what is there anyone that you compare yourself to as a player, and describe to me what type of player describe the type of player you want to be?
Yeah, I would say I'm a very versatile player. I think both playmaker and a shooter. I enjoy both. I like to say to my teammates that apple is just as good as a goal. And so I think with that being said, Steven Stamkos, I think a lot, if you follow hockey a lot, you know that he kind of started out as that playmaker and was known as a really good playmaker, and then kind of developed into that shooter mentality. And so I think that in a sense, that's kind of what I've looked up to too, into wanting to kind of design my play like him.
Now, before Minnesota State, you played for your high school in Elk River. Talk about that experience and what you took away from it.
Yeah, I loved high school hockey. I did. I think that's where you really discover your passion on a deeper level, and you kind of got to make that decision if you're going to be really serious about it, or if you just want to play through high school and be done. And that was great that high school was able to offer me that opportunity to be able to push me and allow me to be able to play at the next level after that. I'd say my senior season had to be my favorite season. It was the chemistry with the team. We were really close, bonded a lot. The girls were great, and we made a good run for it. And I think that year I can say that everyone laid it on the line to try to make it one last time to the state tournament. But yeah, it was a great experience. I loved high school hockey, and it taught me a lot that I needed to learn in order to play at the next level.
Yeah, and how did playing at Elk River help you prepare specifically for college hockey?
I'd say coaches, teammates, all of that. I think just being pushed every single day was a huge thing. I'd like to recognize a lot of my summer hockey coaches and teammates too, because I think it was within that time frame that I was really able to be pushed by those around me and my coaches, and That's what I think kind of sparked all of it, of like, this is serious, this is real, and there's a potential to be able to play at that next level.
Yeah, and you also play tennis as well. Did playing tennis help your hockey development in any sort of way?
Yeah, I think it was kind of nice to have that break from hockey training. Um, Footwork was huge in tennis. The stops, especially if you're a singles player, um, acceleration from stops and starts back and forth, chasing the ball down. Yeah, I really thought that that was helpful. And like I said, just drawing a break and having something else that you could be competitive in. And that was also a really great experience for me to meet other girls outside of hockey and be able to connect with them. And then, of course, when our hockey season started, I could get all the tennis girls to come to our hockey games, which was pretty cool.
Now, do you have any tips to play tennis? Because I've never played it myself, but it looks very difficult. And are you backhand, forehand, something like that?
Yeah, so funny story actually. I took lessons, and when they were teaching me, I couldn't seem to get the forehand and backhand, the proper form and strokes down. And finally, my coach just gave up, and he's like, "You're a hockey player, you're not a tennis player. We're just gonna call this the Kelsey Stroke because it's not properly how you're supposed to do it, but it gets the job done." So I'd say if you're picking up tennis, just focus on hitting the ball and hitting it hard at times, and you'll be fine.
So just do the Kelsey stroke and you'll be all good.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, I want to talk to you about your recruiting process and what made you want to go to Minnesota State at the end of the day versus other schools.
Yeah, it was a tough process. It's hard to make a big decision that's going to be the next 4 years of your life. But I think what it really came down to for me was going to a program that maybe wasn't the top dog and wanting to help them to achieve higher standards and to achieve the goals of becoming that top dog team. Kind of the rebuilding of a team, I'd say, is what I really aspired for. And leadership is a huge thing too. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could be a leader and impact others, both on and off the ice. And two, the coaches are great. I really do like Coach Harrington, Sherry, Goose. All three of them were great in the recruiting process, and they kind of showed the values that they had for the team, and I shared those same values. And so I think at the end of the day, that was kind of the biggest thing, is wanting to go to a team where 3 years ago they might have said, oh, the Mavericks have no chance. And now we've rebuilt to the point where they're like, oh, that Mavericks team, yeah, they can make an impact out there.
Yeah, and one reason for that is the coaching staff. They've done a lot to improve the program. And what have they done specifically for your development as a hockey player when it comes to things about the game that you didn't know before?
Yeah, they have been great. Coach Harrington obviously has a lot of experience under his belt, and I think it's just great in how consistent he is in wanting to teach us. That's the biggest thing too. It's like when you have a coach that gives continual feedback, that's huge in learning how to become better. And I think that that's like the biggest thing from him that I think has been so great, is being able to have that feedback. And then just too, like, being able to still, like, what am I looking for here? Like being able to face adversity and still overcome it, because I think that's like the biggest thing. He came in right off the bat and had to start changing the program, and we faced a lot of adversity, but we've come this far. And like I said, our freshmen are great. Our recruiting class is coming in. So that's super exciting, and that just gives us an opportunity to learn even more and spread that learning to our underclassmen in order to grow as a team.
Yeah, and you got to play in the Windjammer Classic this year in Vermont. What was it like to play up there, compete against players and teams that you normally don't see on a day-to-day basis? And what was the coolest thing you got to do in Burlington?
Yeah, that was a really fun tournament. I think anytime we traveled was a cool experience to go somewhere else out of Minnesota. Yeah, that was a great tournament because, like you said, we were able to play against Vermont and Clarkston, which we would never usually play them. So that was a really cool experience. Clarkston was a top team, so that was fun for us to get to gauge our abilities against a team like that. Um, and then playing Vermont was really cool too because, again, you're playing teams that you don't normally get the opportunity to play against, and it's kind of cool at the end of the day when you walk away from the tournament to be like, okay, this is what we can kind of gauge ourselves to the program compared to maybe some out east teams because we're used to playing in the WCHA, which is mainly comprised of Minnesota teams.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about this from this past year is your team struggled a little bit when it came to playing teams in your conference. What do you think what do you think? Why do you think your team struggled in conference a lot last year, and what you're going to do this year to maintain that success and improve in conference play?
Yeah, well, I'd say the WCHA is such a competitive league. It really is. There's so many good teams, so many good players that come out of the WCHA. And I think the big thing for us was that every night we had to bring it. We had to bring it every single night. And I think we did some nights, and other nights we probably walked away wishing we would have brought it a little bit more and did some things differently, obviously. But that is all in the learning experience. Like I said, we're working to build our team up. And I think taking that loss and looking back on it and being able to reflect and watch film and be like, okay, this is what we need to do differently to play against these types of teams, completely changes what we come into the next night like. And I think, like I said, it's each night is such a battle, and I think we're right in it majority of the time. It's just one of those things where we need to be able to bounce back and learn from it in order to go into the next weekend.
Yeah, and on a more positive note, your team, however, won the Minnesota Cup last year. Talk about winning that in-season tournament and how it helped your team moving forward.
Yeah, that was a good tournament in terms of being able to, play against our conference teams and put up a show and kind of gain that experience and what it's like to get those wins under our belts. I think that going forward, it also, you got to stay humble too, because like I said, the next weekends, you're going right back into it. But I think it just shows, like I had said before, that we're right in it all the time. We really are. We compete hard. We're a hardworking team. We're smart too. And I think that just like showcased that for us.
Yeah, and your team also beat the #1 ranked Wisconsin as well. Talk about that game and what that upset did for your team moving forward.
Yeah, that game's a great example of what I've been talking about, kind of how we watch film if we get beat and we learn from it and we come back into the next night ready to go, because we lost the first game. I think it was like 6-0 to them. And then came into the next game and won 3-1. And that was huge because that had showed like that we are one of those top teams and we can contest with those top teams. And it was great for our seniors too because they hadn't had that opportunity before, and it was really cool for them to be able to have that and see how far our program has come in terms for them since they were a freshman to when they were a senior. And being able to beat Wisconsin, obviously a great team. But yeah, like I said, it just shows that we're right in it with all those teams.
You did lose to Ohio State in the WCHA playoffs. How hard was that loss, and what did you learn during that series that will help you for next year's playoffs, especially since it was your first playoff experience?
Yeah, that was a really tough one. It's tough to be playing on the road for the first round of playoffs. I think that the biggest thing that we took away from that, as tough as it was, we battled hard. We really did. I know a lot of times the scores don't always show how hard a team contests and stays in it, and we really fought for it. I think the hardest thing was that obviously our goal was to make it to the Frozen Four, as our goal is for next year too. And I think that not getting that goal was kind of a crushing thing because, like I said, we're still, like, each year we just want to be better. We want to reach new goals. We're working on developing more, everything pertaining to that. So I think that not making it, that was tough. But from that, being able to bounce back, that's what I think our team is great at. So we face a lot of adversity, but we're always able to bounce back and work on getting better. And like I said, with our freshmen and our recruiting classes coming in, it's very exciting. And with the knowledge that Coach Harrington and the other coaches continue to instill in us and the things we learn is huge for the years to come.
Yeah, and what's the biggest improvement you made to your game since in this past year, since you, after a year of college hockey under your belt?
I'd say the biggest transition from high school to college hockey is the speed of the game. And so I think once you kind of get a feel for the speed of the game and you're able to play at that speed consistently, that is what truly helps you develop and helps you apply the skills that you've been using since you were third grade for me. But those skills that have developed over time, I think it's huge once you get into the speed of it and then you start to utilize those skills that you've been working on. And I think that that's what I personally would continue to, sorry, excuse me. I would like to continue working on is just pushing myself a little bit more, because I would say that playing at that higher level, at that faster pace, it's always going to get faster the more you go up in levels. And so I think, like, being able to push myself harder and just dial in on my strengths, but also be aware of my weaknesses.
Yeah, and what's your favorite road arena to play in, since there's so many cool spots in the WCHA?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to say Wisconsin. They have a very cool arena, and they get quite a crowd too.
Yeah, I've heard it looks pretty. Is it the biggest crowd in women's college hockey? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think them and Ritter can get pretty big too.
Yeah.
Definitely for within the WCHA, they definitely draw in the biggest crowds.
Now we're in the non-hockey segment of the podcast. My first question to you is, what music do you like to listen to before a game, and which arena has the best warm-up mix?
Yeah, so before games, I like to listen to like rap, like pump up music. I don't know if you've heard of the Big Booty mixes, the remixes.
Everyone loves those. My favorite.
Yeah.
15. That's my favorite.
Yeah, have you heard 16 yet?
No, I haven't heard 16, so I have to get on it. But they're long; they're like an hour long, so I don't really have time to listen to the whole thing. So.
Yeah, we normally listen to that like every day we work out. We go through all the mixes, but yeah, so we'll listen to that. Rink that has the best warm-up mix, I would say UMD. UMD had a really good warm-up mix when we played there last year.
Now, which teammate would you not want to give the aux to when it comes to pump-up music in the locker room?
Who would I not give it? Probably Jess Condis.
Why? What type of music does she like?
I think it's not even necessarily her music. It's just we like to mess with her.
No.
She's she likes to take charge, and it's funny to see her reaction when everyone's like, Jess, get off the aux.
Mm-hmm. Now, my next question is about some of your teammates. Who is the funniest on the team?
Funniest? I would have to say that's a tough one. We have a lot of girls that can crack some good jokes. I would have to say Charlotte. She's one of my – Charlotte Akravic. I live with her too, so I get to hear her jokes all the time.
Now, who has the best style on the team besides yourself, obviously?
Best style. I'd have to say Claire Budarak. She's got good style.
Now, what's your favorite outdoor activity since you grew up in Minnesota and there's a lot of things you can do out there?
Yeah, well, winter, I would say the pit in Elk River, the outdoor skating rink. That's my favorite. I love playing pond hockey. like all winter long, I would if I could. But besides that, I'm a big walker. I go on a lot of walks. I'll go on like a morning walk and an evening walk. Bike riding, I enjoy that too. Yeah, those are anything that's kind of an activity. I like to stay pretty active.
Yeah, I enjoy walks too. Now, what is your favorite TV show that you would want to make a guest appearance in?
Ooh, my all-time favorite TV show is Dexter. I think that's definitely my favorite. I don't know if I'd want to make an appearance in it though.
Yeah, yeah.
If you've never seen Dexter, you know it's like serial killers, so I don't know if I'd want to appear in that one.
Maybe we can play like a good guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, my next question to you is if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
That's a good one. Anyone in the world. Do you ask this question normally in the podcast?
Yes, most of the time. Yeah, I know.
Do people respond pretty quickly?
Sometimes, yeah, there's been some good answers that I haven't really thought of. So,
Pick to have lunch with anyone. I think I would pick the Pope.
wow, okay. Why?
Yeah, throwing that one out there. Because I think it would be great to speak to someone. I'm kind of religious, so I think that someone that has such a strong connection to God, I think that would be really cool to be able to pick their brain and kind of ask those questions that a lot of us probably think about, but we never really fully understand.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation. I never really thought of it that way. So, now back to some hockey questions. Now, my first one is: what advice would you give younger players trying to pursue Division I college hockey?
I would say the biggest thing is like staying motivated, because if you can stay motivated, then you know that you truly have a passion for the game. Because I know, especially for younger players, like I said, I didn't start till later, and summer hockey wasn't even that big of a deal when I started either. But I know now it's starting younger is pushed a lot, and along with summer hockey and any extra hockey that you can get in at a young age. And so I'd say staying motivated with your passion of hockey, but then also allowing yourself to have other interests, have tennis, have lacrosse, have something else too that, especially at a younger age, that can take your mind off the game a little bit, because that's really important. But I'd say, yeah, the passion is the biggest driving thing when you're younger, because if you continue to feed that passion, that's when at the end of the day, that you'll be able to put it all on the line and do everything you can to be able to reach that next level. And that's what they're looking for ultimately, are those players that have put in so much work and time to develop.
Now, what should be done to help grow women's hockey?
I think the biggest thing is just like the promotion of it. I think at a lot of times it's always men's this, men's that. And I think that being able to like show like these women can play just as hard as some of those men can play. I think that's huge. And there's already been so much progress made with the WNHL, which is so great to see. And I don't think those women get enough credit, because they are very talented, they're very skilled, and they're very fun to watch. And I think that getting that out there to others to be able to see that and go and watch a game, and I think that would definitely change the outlook on things. But that has been great, the WNHL being created, because younger girls see that, and more younger girls feel inspired. They have people to look up to that play at the highest level, and I think that can like motivate them to want to pursue it.
Now, what does Mankato do to help promote you guys? Because I know the men's team is very big. You see them all the time on TV, and Mankato is a huge hockey town. Do they do anything to promote your team so more fans can go?
Yeah, we give back in the community quite a bit. We do like a learn to play. We go out and skate with some of the younger kids, and I think that's like a really good opportunity for us to talk to them and their families and kind of be like, hey, come to our games, come watch our games. I think it's just all about having that connection with the younger generations because that's huge. Yes, students too, that's a big thing. Meet someone in your class, you see someone around. Obviously, it's been more difficult with COVID and times like that, but just saying, hey, like, come to a game. Like, students are free. I think that's like a huge thing too, is just having that, and then athlete support. So other athletes kind of supporting each other is a big deal. So I think it was cool last year. We had a couple football guys come. I think we had some soccer, some volleyball girls come, and that's like really cool to be able to support the other sports. So if we go to a soccer game, then they're like, oh yeah, we'll come to your hockey game, you know, kind of just supporting each other. But again, it's been tough with COVID, obviously, and everybody not knowing about their season. So
now another question I have is, what should I do better to improve as an interviewer and help this platform grow?
I think you did great. That was really good. I think this is really cool what you're doing, because I know especially if I'm a big fan or something like that, and even just being in the WCHA and listening to these other women's players talk, and even men's players, that's really cool because, yeah, like you said, during quarantine, not a lot of people have a lot of things to do, so why not take up podcasts?
Yeah, that was kind of the plan. It's been awesome to have you on and some other players on, and we're going to speak to another Minnesota State player Monday, so I'm excited for that.
Can I ask who it is?
Yeah, it's the goalie, Dryden McKay. I don't know if you know who he is, but
oh yeah, I know Dryden. Nice.
we're going to talk to him Monday, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay, yeah, that'll be a good talk.
Now, is there any shout-outs you have to any of your friends, teammates, or family members?
I think I would just shout out to my teammates because they're my biggest supporters. I mean, my family too, obviously, but I think definitely during this quarantine time, being around them has kind of been my joy every single day, going to the rink, working out, because we can't go to classes. They're all online, so that's your human interaction for the day is how I like to think about it, and they're great. And I wouldn't be where I am today without them. So I thank them. And then if Jess Condis listens to this podcast, I hope she doesn't get too mad at me about the Ox thing.
No, she's the best. We'll give her a shout out as well.
Okay, sounds good.
No, thank you so much, Kelsey, for coming on. I appreciate it so much. It's been fun talking with you, and take care and stay safe. And I wish you nothing but the best for this upcoming year.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.